Hello and welcome back to the game room. You know what I love? Video games. You know what I love talking about? Games. And it seems like a lot of people these days who cover games seem to hate them, or at least the people who play them. Well, that's not me, and that's not the 5,301 of you beautiful people checking out this video here today. We've made another new plateau, blazing past 5,300 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. Hey, this PS4 video last week did really well, so I guess there's much more of a audience for PS4 that found this video than the previous one on initial release, so that one did really well too. So hey guys, more PS4 content in the works, PS5. But today I have been traveling, so it's been a little harder for me to look at some modern stuff. So we are looking at a video that was requested from one of you guys for me to take a look at some platformers. And of course, because the clickbait works, I'm using the same naming of the title that gets all of you guys to click on this, though the boat has definitely launched on some of these games. But if that sounds interesting to you, let's check it out. There's a lot of games out there, some of which you've never even heard of. That's where I come in. My name's Luke. I've been playing games since the age of 2, and I have no life.
This is my game room.
So yes, there will be a heavy influence of retro games on this video, and I didn't want to just bring up things that I would talk about and then you guys would not be able to grab for any sort of reasonable price. So one of the games I wanted to start with was a game that you can still buy. This company, it makes retro games for the old systems, but nowadays. And I've actually met the guys. They've done 3 in this series. They made another game that I really liked. And there's actually the third game is currently in development and should be out soon. But I still really enjoy the first one. And that game is Haunted Halloween 1985. Now, I actually met these guys at Portland Retro Gaming Expo in 2015. Hence why it has the little sticker here that says the exclusive somewhere. Yeah, right here in the model, like we're exclusive to that gaming expo. So yes, if you like this series, I didn't come with the box and manual like other people have gotten, or the cool colored cart, but I do have that little retro gaming expo from 2015 tag on it. It's perfect for the holiday season. It more or less is just your basic 2D platformer. 5 stages, boss at the end of the stage. There's health pickups you can pick up. You have different difficulties depending on which difficulty you're on. Your pants will be a different color, so the easy mode makes your pants pink, normal is blue, and then you can take a certain amount of hits before you become a zombie. And the way you can see your health bar instead of having it on the UI is the color of skin you have. So you start off pretty tan, you get pale, then a little green, and then you turn into a zombie on the normal mode. And it's just a very cool way of showing a health bar without having it to need to be on screen. Now, as this was an earlier release of theirs, some of the graphics cannot be as pretty as their later games, but I like the style. I've always really enjoyed this game. Now, I don't know if it's because I have an early build of it. One of the only things when I covered this game back in 2015 is that sometimes I found going on downward slopes, the controls got a little sticky, so I would not hit a jump at the time I thought I would. But I'm sure that's been addressed in later releases. And I believe you can even get this on things like Steam and, a Switch download. It's just a good, fun time. It's more in line with a brawler in some regards, or beat 'em up, that kind of thing. But I really, really like this game. It's probably one of my favorite platformers on the NES. Does play on the original NES, but you can get it on other systems as well. And that is one that I would highly recommend. And if you want to know of a modern 2D platformer that I really enjoy, that would be one of them. Now, here is one that also was a Super Nintendo game. It never got released in the West, and I think I Am 8-Bit did a release of it maybe about a year ago, 2 years ago. They do really fantastic re-releases of Super Nintendo games, things like Holy Diver or whatnot. And one of the games that was one of the more expensive on the Super Famicom was, I don't remember the Japanese pronunciation of it, but it's become known as King of Demons. And this is a very, very fun game. It plays off when I first learned of it back in 2015-16, when I was really learning about a lot of these Japanese translated games, which I've done a video on this one too. I've done a video on Haunted Halloween, so by all means, go back in my catalog. I think at the time I tagged them Lucius T dash the name of the game. This one was the first game I started either, I think 2016 or 2017 with. I think it was 2017. And it got a lot of comparisons to Resident Evil, I guess, or at least that's what some people said. The first stage does play off like that. You're playing as a dude in a white shirt and jeans, you have a pistol, but the real hook of the game is the crystals that turn you into 3 different types of demon. So there's a red crystal, turns you into the red one who throws boomerangs, the green one turns you into a green one that shoots lasers, or the blue one turns you into a dragon creature. Now, if you get through all 5 stages and you continue to get the same crystal, which when you beat a stage, the end boss drops a crystal, and then if you wait for 5 seconds, it'll turn colors. So it's very easy to pick the crystal you want, but if you don't know that's how it works, like myself, you'll end up getting the red crystal and not know there was a difference. And so if the more crystals you get, the more powerful that demon becomes. And then if you get, I think, 3 in a row of the same color, you become a super demon of that type. Or if you get all sequentially, so if you get red, green, blue, or, you know, all 3 of them, you turn into the gray demon. And they each have their own move sets. They all play somewhat similarly, but it's just a really fun game overall. I had a blast with this. The graphics in this game are pretty incredible. I think this would have been a very well received game had it come out in the West, so that's probably part of the reason why it is so expensive on the Super Famicom. It likely got a limited release. No one really talks about it, but highly recommend it. If you can still grab one of these IM 8-bit releases of it, I'm sure they're expensive now because I'm pretty sure they all sold out. But I really like it. Even then, you can find it other ways. Hint, hint. So check it out. That is one that if you've never heard of, give it a shot. I'd love to see it be on the Nintendo Switch Online one of these days, even if it does only go to the Japanese version of it. It's completely playable without English, so I can see. But now there is a translation, I believe. So yeah, check it out. That one's very good. Okay, now, once again, this game, the ship has sailed. Yes, I apologize for naming it Games to Get before the prices went up. But this is one that I did pick up in 2015, I think, or 2016. It was more or less the holy grail of retro gaming YouTubers, anything like that. You wanted to have this on a necklace and walk around, but also, as someone who had been following the NES since a kid, I had seen articles in 2010 mentioning this game, 2011, 2012, back when it was maybe couple $100. And that game is Little Samson. And no, I don't have a completed box. This is a repro box. I'm not going to open up this to show you the actual cart. If you want to see the video I made back in the day, I actually ripped the box open for the video in a ridiculous manner to show that. But no, this was never a real box, but the cart is real. The funny story behind how I got it, I'm in sales and I've had a lot of great managers over the years, but one of the better ones who I did have basically gave me a spiff that said, oh yeah, that game you're always talking about, if you sell such and such this month, I'll buy it for you. Not realizing at the time that the game was going for around $700. And so I hit that metric, and he's like, so what is that, $300-400? I'm like, ah. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna give you this much money, like $500, and then because I hit that target, I got a little bit more in commission that month. So for me, even though it was a $750 purchase, effectively it was a $50 purchase. I had never planned on spending that much on a game. Yes, I spent $200 to $300 on a game, but $700,000, even that's too rich for my blood. Still to this day, who knows? Maybe now I'm a little bit more progressed in my career. I might start doing that stuff to kind of be able to show you guys what it looks like. But man, is it a hard pill to swallow. But Little Samson, very, very fun game. I am shocked that there has not been a re-release of it yet. You know it's got to be coming someday. Limited Run will get the rights. IMA, but somebody will make a re-release of this. So do not go out and purchase this physical copy that goes for around $2,500. Something insane like that. But if you want to know what it plays like, it is a pretty standard Mega Man clone in some regards. But instead of swapping between robot powers, you swap between different animal powers. So you have the dragon, the rat, Samson himself. And it's just a really, really fun game. It is one of the things that's lost in the shuffle of the little Samson hype is how much fun it is actually to play. And the fact that had this game come out maybe 3 or 4 years earlier, 2 years earlier, had a little bit more play, it may have sold a lot better and then not be so ridiculously expensive and lost to time. But for now, it's just known as one of those collector's pieces, much like Hagani, where it's more important to have it for the value and the way of, having that in your collection as a showpiece, and not enough people talk about actually playing it or doing it, which is a shame because it is a very, very fun playing game. Probably one of the best rare and expensive games that is good. Probably in the line of something like Snatcher or Panzer Dragoon Saga, depending on who you talk. Although the Saturn's kind of like that in general. All the Saturn games are expensive. But yes, Little Samson, that one is excellent. Do not go out and buy that. That one, go ahead and pirate, but check it out. That is a fun one to play outside of it just being really, really expensive. All right, another one that's fairly recent that came out on modern consoles. I don't know if it was released on Steam or anything like that. It's by Morphcat Games, and they do great work, and they have great customer service too, because when I bought this game, the cartridge actually didn't work, and they sent me a brand new board to put into the cartridge, and that one did work. And now, who knows, maybe that board I have sitting around, if I tinker with it, I can get it to work. But a wonderful game, and wonderful multiplayer game too, which is Micro Mages. Now, this is 1 to 4 players. It's got a very Super Meat Boy vibe, and it's not a side-scrolling platformer. It's a vertical platformer, which you really don't see many of, and it is really, really well done. So you can play it by yourself, or you can play it with up to 4 people. It's got great music in it. And as you're going up the stages, you can pick up, basically it's one-hit deaths for yourself, and then if you die, you come back as a ghost. And if you're playing a multiplayer, the other character can find a little heart that revives you, so it really does benefit playing it with multiple people. There's nothing else other than that. And from what I remember, I don't think there's an attack. I think you have to jump on things or hit them from below. It's been a while since I played this. Once again, another game I have covered. Almost everything I'm talking about this week, I have made a dedicated video on. So if you want to know more about it, go ahead and take a look at those. But Micro Mages, a wonderful game. I know the physical copy of it's getting expensive. Originally, you could only get it from Morphcat Games, which I believe are based out of France. But a wonderful game, wonderful company, really cool. And I just like the aesthetics of it. This is a game that really, really fits well in the 8-bit era, but is, just in line with those indie darlings that come out to today. All right, moving up into a more modern-ish console, but not really. This is probably one of the more well-known games we're going to talk about today. But because I wanted to get some better-known things, we're going to talk about it, and that is Genesis's Castle of Illusion. Now, when this game came out, this was huge. And I feel like over the years, it's just gotten less and less huge. Now, there was a remake made of it for Xbox Live Arcade that never got a physical copy that I've heard mixed things about. Some people say they enjoy it. Some people say they don't. I've always just stuck with the Genesis version. There is also a sequel. There's 2 sequels, technically. There's World of Illusion, which I never knew of growing up. And then there's Land of Illusion on the Game Gear. But Castle of Illusion is the original. It's just a fun game where you just happen to be playing as Mickey Mouse, going through all these different locales. I remember the Candy World was one of my favorite ones growing up, having the bounceable rubber, this and that, and just the loopy mechanics of it. But probably one of the best Disney games that I do not believe was tied to Capcom. I don't think this is a Capcom game who made it, but maybe it was. Just really, really solid. Came out before Sonic. So before Sonic, this one was one of the premier titles on the Genesis, and just, not that it's forgotten to time, but it is one of those ones where now the longer we get, the less people we have who grew up in the Genesis era going back and looking at those games. This was one of the best games that came out on the system. The pre-Sonic era of Genesis, when you had Altered Beast, Mickey Mouse, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, the Maddens, things like that, Toe Jam and Earl. Castle of Illusion was probably the best game on the system as far as a system seller goes, and had it been a different mascot, not Mickey Mouse, it probably would have been tied to Sega intrinsically, much like Sonic did a few years later, and it's just a really, really fun game and well worth your time. Oh, okay. Speaking of another game that was a not released game in the West, in fact, there's not much play about this game anywhere. I don't even know if I'd necessarily call it a platformer as much as it's more of an action-adventure platform, but then again, that's kind of, platformer in general is sort of a loose a loose designation. Like run and gun shooters are technically platformers, brawlers, this and that, but I like to think of a platformer as stage-based. You know, you can't really go backwards once you've gone forward. But this game is really, really good. It has cutscenes in it. It did not come out in the West. There is a translation of it. I have a repro cart, and that is called Moon Crystal. And Moon Crystal, I've done a full video on this game as well, is incredible. It kind of has a little bit of a Prince of Persia vibe mixed with a Ninja Gaiden vibe. Your character, they can grab onto ledges and pull themselves up, as well as there is a double jump mechanic. Now, bear in mind the mechanics are a little janky at times, and as you go through the levels, you're just gonna be hit by the graphics of this game are very impressive for something that truly did come out back in the 8-bit era. And it's not a wonderful feeling game, like it's got a little bit of jank behind it, but if you like that era of games, there's nothing really that plays like this, and it is really, really cool. Pretty damn difficult too. Can be frustrating as hell. Like I said, that double jump mechanic in the cave level led to a lot of deaths. If you see that video I made, you'll see what I'm talking about. But is a wonderful, wonderful game. One that I would love to see get that I am 8-bit treatment, much like games like Holy Diver and King of Demons. Moon Crystal is one of those games out there that if we had gotten it, would have been a much bigger hit. Or if it wasn't a big hit, it would have been a sleeper hit. Something like, you know, the Shatterhand, those kind of games that people just absolutely adore. Or Metal Storm, that kind of thing. It is a very, very fun game and very graphically impressive. Alright, so once again, platformers, you know, it's hard to make the designation. I specifically just stuck to really 2D platformers on this, but we're kind of breaking the mold here with a game that's more of an action brawler platformer, but I wanted to do something that was a little bit more modern, as well as had a re-release right now on modern consoles that you could go pick up if you wanted, and that game was Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles. Now, this was a very, very fun game when it came out. I really, really enjoyed it. I want to say it came out after the Phantom Menace, but before Attack of the Clones, so everyone kind of knew that or maybe it was before Phantom Menace. I can't quite remember, but it was much better than the movie. Let's put it that way. It was much better than the movie. It had the ability to unlock things. So this was really the last heyday of unlockables in game. You know, I think they had a little bit of that in the GameCube PS2 era, but the fact that you can unlock Darth Maul and other characters in this was cool through just gameplay, not having to buy things. There were secrets in there. I always feel like the Lego games are trying to emulate this style of game because it's more of a 2.5D, but there is a lot of platforming in it. But then there's sections where you're coming towards the camera, going left and right, going vertically. But it just felt like the next evolution of those Super Star Wars games. And as much as The Phantom Menace was not a great movie, this game made it feel like a great movie. And it just got re-released on modern systems. There's a physical copy you can pick up. It's a great co-op game. I used to play this with my dad all the damn time. Really, really enjoy this game, and one that I always will bring up. Anytime someone says, you know, Hidden Gem PS1 games to recommend on PS1, this is a game I tell people to grab. And yes, this is one you absolutely need to pick up. Alright, last few here. This one is probably the most basic answer I'm going to talk about, but I wanted to throw out a fairly common game that everyone will have heard of, and that is just Mega Man X. So the Mega Man series obviously is a wonderful platforming series. They have 10 games in the original style, technically 11 actually, there's an 11th, and then the Mega Man X games I think go up to like 7 or 8. This actually is that 3D re-release from I Am 8-bit. I don't know why I bought this damn thing. I probably should have just bought an actual physical copy of Mega Man X with the box back when this came out, because I think it was still when Mega Man X in the box was fairly reasonable, like $90, something like that. Now, all Super Nintendo games are just exorbitantly expensive to get in the box, but I'm glad to have this one. It doesn't have the warning to set your Super Nintendo on fire like the Street Fighter 30th release did, though I most likely been playing this in my analog and Super NT, so I'm not sure if that carries on that. But Mega Man X, I mean, I did a video on this one too. This is, you know, I did not mention any of the Mario games in this. I did not mention other fairly recognizable platformers just because everyone talks about them. But yes, this is one to look at, and also be aware of this 30th anniversary that I guess these are getting pretty expensive too because they were officially licensed. But it's just, you know, this is really, really cool to have, and a great game, and just a great platformer that everyone should check out. All right, now the last Super Nintendo game we're going to talk about here. This did get a re-release in modern times, but stay away from it because it is more based on the arcade game. This is the one I'm going to tell you to pick up and play. There also was a Jalico collection that had this version of it on it, along with the sequels, and that game is the original Joe and Mac. One of the greatest co-op Super Nintendo games of its day. Me and my older brother used to play it to death. There is an overworld reminiscent to Super Mario World, and then there's secrets in the worlds where you can get keys, purple dinosaurs that will lift you up to alternate routes, unlock different areas. I don't even know if I ever beat the damn thing, because it's pretty damn hard, and I don't think there's a continue system. But we really, really enjoyed playing it. I tried playing New Joe and Mac on the Switch a few months back on the Switch series. Did not like it at all. Really did not like it at all. But the original Joe and Mac, still fun to this day. Still fun with two players. And one of the things that when my daughter gets older, or even with my wife, I've played this game with, because it is a great co-op game for, you know, like little brother mode. Because I was that little brother playing with my older brother, and I was able to hold my own and contribute. Not super difficult. And, you know, Mac for life. I love my blue-haired caveman ninja. There were two sequels. There's Congo's Caper, which is technically Joe and Mac 2, and then there's Joe and Mac 2 Lost in the Tropics, which is actually Joe and Mac 3. If you want to play all three of them, like I said, that Jalico collection, which I do have, it's over there. It was very cheap. I'm sure it's still cheap. I think it's like 20, 30 bucks to pick up. But yes, Joe and Mac, wonderful game. Can't recommend it enough. One of the best co-op platformers I've ever played. And then the last one. Once again, this is technically a run and gun shooter, but because it's level based, and I don't know, I just wanted to bring it up because it doesn't get enough play, although it's very expensive now, and that is G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. So this is probably the game, is the poster child of a series I used to do called Hated Gems, where games I did not like as a kid, but as an adult, I really love. A lot of that comes down to the games when I played them as a child. I just was too young to really be able to play it. Much like a game like Zelda 2, where when I played it when I was 4 or 5, I could not do anything. Played it as 8 and 9, I got better. Played it as a 12-year-old, beat it, loved it, and that's kind of what made me invested in it. I feel like had I not... I didn't sell this one. Basically, when my older brother moved out, we did a great game divide of 1992, 94, whenever it was. And in order to get certain games of his that I wanted, like Spy vs. Spy and Maniac Mansion, we had to do a trade. So this was my childhood copy of G.I. Joe that I did not have in my collection for until 2016. And then finally it came home for me to house it, though technically it's still his. But anyways, G.I. Joe is really expensive now. I think the card alone is like $100, and I don't know if that's because of the G.I. Joe name, G.I. Joe fans, but it is a really damn solid game, and I think it is stuck on the NES. There is a sequel called The Atlantis Factor, which I did pick up a few years back. I have still yet to play it, and allegedly it is nowhere near as good as the first game. The main reason why I wanted this game as a kid is I love those old 1980s G.I. Joe figures, and Snake Eyes was my favorite. A game where I could play as Snake Eyes sounded incredible, though at the time Snake Eyes is not the best character for all the levels. Like, he's very agile, but there's a skill cap with his character versus some of the other ones. And then the way the game works is you can play as different characters in the levels, but then there's one character that needs to be in that level. And so, like, there's 5 stages, and the first stage is you need Duke, but then you can pick backup characters. And it's similar to the way TMNT works, where you can switch the characters in real time. Though, much like TMNT, I don't know if I knew you could switch the characters in real time with their own separate life bars. You know, you gotta love, once again, that's why these things were so obtuse and hard to... If you didn't know how to read as a kid, 5-year-old, you're not reading the manual, and your old brother doesn't tell you, you just don't figure that stuff out. Or maybe you don't read the manual because you're just renting it or you wanted to play it. Anyways, G.I. Joe, great game. Another one to hopefully get a re-release. That is one that probably won't, though, because of the moniker. But I would say that one, don't get the complete copy, but yes, if you're interested in it and want to know, is it worth the price it fetches? It absolutely is. It is a really, really fun game and definitely has replay value because you can approach levels the way you like. And it's just, you know, as a G.I. Joe fan, it's just one to have in the collection. But there you have it, guys. There are 10 games that are 2D platformers that you need to run out and drop thousands and thousands of dollars on because I said so that I can pump up the market and then sell all my collection like some of the comments said last week. Yeah, that's never gonna happen. I have a bunch of 360 duplicates that I had at the height of the market, and now the market has crashed, and I still haven't got rid of it. I don't sell anything, guys. I am a black hole of despair when it comes to hoarding this stuff. Just ask my wife. She would love if I would sell some of this stuff. But anyways, as a reminder, I release a new video every Tuesday. It's been so nice getting a hold of you. Take care.